Um, Gonna send a message to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Just a voice message if I can through the website. Um, because I've been the video with Donald Trump doing the free speech statement that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has got on his website. I've got it on my website on the front page because I thought it was a really good video. Like it's a really optimistic statement about freedom of speech and also touching on like political rights as well, and also getting some kind of resolution or even justice for some of the wrongs that have been done against certain people. Now I know that Elon Musk has been negotiating with Donald Trump over certain policies such as visas, and now Jimmy Dore has been putting these videos out criticising Trump, particularly in connection with some of the Whitney Webb statements and claims. Now they're reckoning that Trump and Elon Musk are going to pursue some kind of social point system or personal ranking or rating that could possibly be like what China have implemented, and possibly even Elon Musk pursuing his X platform with everyone's banking, incorporating it somehow with social point systems and basically data surveillance and so forth. This is what I think about it, because there's going to be a lot of arguments and disputes over this. We're ending up getting this kind of like guru wars where you've got these figures who kind of are lifted up, or they either put themselves there or want to be there, or social media puts them there, and they're getting all these kind of like large audiences, and it's almost like guru wars, literally like Star Wars. Now they're all sparring with each other, and they're all at various different positions. Joe Rogan, Jimmy Dore, George Galloway, the list goes on. The list is endless. And it's either be a guru or be a minion, be a listener. I don't know where this is all going. To start with, how we've ended up where we are, this is important before I go on to what I wanted to say, which is that they gave us these phones and they didn't have any of these surveillance tools or data gathering. Bill Gates gave us all computers and he said that they were tools to help us, right? Look, you can do your office work on it. Look, you can do maths on it. Look, you can print things out. This is there to help you, right? It was nothing about our personal private lives or information. It was merely presented as a tool to assist you, right? To get a job done quicker. And also to have fun with, like play video games and so forth. And there was nothing about safety or, there's no safety concerns when you've got an Atari and you put a cartridge in an Atari, right? And play a video game. There's no safety concerns with that unless you pick it up and throw it at someone, right? There's no safety concerns at all. There was no safety concerns when people had a telephone, right? You got the yellow pages. There's everyone's phone number there, an address, but you had to pay money to call them. There were scammers, there's always been scammers, like they used to have a television advert in England called J.R. Hartley, right? When, Fly Fishing by J.R. Hartley, there's always been telephone scammers, and sort of people thinking about wiretapping or government surveillance or whatever. But now that people have been made to be scared and afraid, they don't even want to give their addresses over. But it's not just about your address. The right to contact someone, fair enough, right? And obviously, if you want to contact a business, you need to be able to go there to go to the shop. But they are scaring people, but only because there's more and more information now accessible by certain parties. What I don't like is that they've give us these machines, these mobile phones. It started off as a brick. It's like a phone brick. You can cell phone, right? You all you do is you type a number in it, and it connects you to someone, and you speak, right? And that's it. There's no threat there. You get these phone contracts. Now, when it started going wrong, is when these companies have got these ulterior interests, motives, plans, and strategies, and they add them in. And then they say, right, well, you've got to accept our terms and conditions, right? But once you've kind of agreed to it, right, what they get you addicted to the product, or they get you so you can't live without it, so you need it, right? And that's where they've got you hooked. So anything they do from that point, they can do what they want, because you can't do without this thing. You can't live your life without it. You can't communicate without it. You can't, and then you are at their mercy, because it's like, consent, submit, accept, and if you you can't not consent, submit, accept. I think in life, when you get to a point where you cannot not accept, you cannot not submit, you cannot not consent, it's actually worse than the government. I mean, I was just looking at an act of law that said, no one could refuse a knighthood from the king. The king could knight who he wanted, and they couldn't say no to it. They had to be in service. It's a little bit like that. Then they actually made an act of law, so you didn't have to be a knight. You could reject it. You could refuse it. The king couldn't force you to be a knight in service, right? But Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and so forth, they're actually worse than that, because you can't refuse them. Because if you do, you're out. That's it. You literally. So their things are manufactured and made to consent, submit, and accept to all their rules and regulations, anything that they want to ask you or make you agree to, unless the law explicitly forbids it. It's actually worse than legislation. This policy business is actually worse than law, because at least in the law we get to vote on it, we get to choose. But with their policies, you can't vote on it. And the laws are actually meant to govern these companies, not just people, and they're not governing them anywhere near enough. And even Nick Clegg said, the government's way behind. Well, the government was purposely put way behind in order for them to do this. The government, literally like ushered them, rolled out the red carpet and said, yeah, go for it, we'll catch you up later. And they said, go for it. And what they did is they let them do it, and then it's done. We're snookered now. They stitched us up. They've got all his photos, all his information, all his private business. It's done. It's gone. All hackers, Russians, whoever wants your data now has got it. Unless you've, even Boris Johnson supposedly didn't want an MI5 phone, but it's gone now. I mean, everything, and it's all our information's gone. They've got it, and all our future plans. The whole thing's gone. I don't know what charade they want to continue at this moment in time, but anyone who stood up and attracted attention, unless you're Russell Brand on this ExpressVPN, but I mean, I spoke to my telephone company and they advised not to use ExpressVPN. So I think you can't have a world where these private businesses are coercing and manipulating people to bend to their will and literally kneel to any whim they want, and the government are just standing back and letting them do it effectively. I don't think it's right, because it's more powerful than law. Nothing can be more powerful than the law of the country to make you do something. You can't have companies who are manipulating people and setting trends and behaviours more than the legislation of the country, because then they're more powerful than the government. And that's what John Kennedy said. He said, these companies are very powerful now, but only because the government's let them be. I don't think they should have any of our data. If they look, right, this is how I see it, right? they're making money out of our data, right? They're taking something from us and they're making us consent to it, and they're using it, selling it, and making money out of it. All that is just wrong. What? And the only reason is because you say I consent, I submit, and I accept. And all you have to do as a human being, as a person, right, is say I've got a policy, right? House rules. You say any company that interacts with me, right, has to consent to accept to my terms, right? Well, those companies then would say, well, we don't want your business. We're not going to give you a phone. Well, good. Well, where's the company that, is going to, where are these companies emerging from? Well, no one's got money, because this is why when you get this model that, Tony Blair and Nick Clegg and all these Knights of the Realm and the WHO and Amazon, oh, Jeff owns everything. Amazon's everything. Jeff's going to sort everything out. Any widget under the sun from A to Z, Jeff sells it, You don't need to go to any other shops. This is what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is wanting to strengthen individual private businesses back to having power again. Because otherwise, these people, where's the competition? Where's the other company that doesn't have these policies? There was that ex-military American guy who's got that mobile phone company, where it's different and it can protect you and so forth. Where are these other companies who aren't using our tech? Where are these other companies who aren't going to get our data? Where are they all? Well, if they're heading for these small number of companies that are going to control everything, then there aren't going to be any other companies who don't have those policies. So I agree with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that, by encouraging independent businesses and other businesses, then there is going to be a choice and a selection and empower individual companies to prosper and do well, and more choice and diversity, which they was going away from that. They claimed that they were having a competitive market in England. They sold off Royal Mail, they sold off all the energy and power companies, and they said that they were going to have a competitive market. They made it sound like, David Cameron made it sound like there's going to be loads of different delivery businesses and you're going to have loads of different choice. What happened is they sold it off. Instead of it being cost effective for consumers just to get mail delivered without costing too much, just for the sake of getting mail delivered, instead now you've got all these companies trying to milk us and see how much profits they can get out of it. And they're all owned by the same companies. They're all getting bought up. So it's not competitive. It's competing against us for how much money they can take off us. It's not like, we can provide a service to mankind and solve a problem, and we're doing it for the goodness out of our hearts, and still make some money out of it. They're trying to milk it for every penny that they've got. And if you look at, you're getting mail delivered, although Jeff Bezos reckons that, if you click your fingers, then, Genie appears at the door with your Amazon box or the sacked, It's like, but, it's all super efficiency, but you're giving up all your kind of rights and freedoms. There must be companies who can do it without all these catches, all these, these other clauses and so forth. So, and how can Elon Musk even have a future if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be promoting all these other businesses to prosper and do well? Then, surely X is not going to take over and run the world. How can it fit that model? In England, with this Starbucks thing, with this card only, no cash, in England, there are fixed laws which even Parliament can't vote against, ancient customs and liberties, and one of those is trade, right? It's HM Revenue and Customs. Revenue and Customs is the ancient customs of trade. So it's like, I'll swap you, this for that. If no one swaps, 3 goats for a chicken anymore, you don't have a right to trade. If you can't give a token or have a physical thing to represent money, you're screwed. If a computer system goes down, it's an ancient custom and right in English law that cannot be removed or overridden by the Parliament of England that, you know, people have a right to trade things and have tokens that have a value attributed to them. Um, so this whole convenience of plastic cards and computer systems effectively, they want to track numbers. Um, it's just, it's supposedly convenience. Um, I don't think you can legally do it in England unless you take over the world, like Putin, and take over the country. If you just can't, it can't be done in England because it cannot be done by law. So what Elon Musk would have to do is literally, put an army together and invade. If he invaded England and imprisoned King Charles and defeated the British military, unless they let him, he can't do it. He can pretend that he can, but it can't be done in law because even King Charles can't do it. So it would have to be, a literal like some kind of Bond villain global takeover. In law, it can't be done. So Musk can fantasize all he wants, who wants to subscribe to and sign up to his X platform, but it's not going to happen in England because it just can't be done. No matter what lawyers that you make out, it can, unless he takes over the country. And I know that a lot of Americans in rural America are far, far from living a complete digital world. America is, Route 66 and American. This is like what Alex Jones is saying. He claims he doesn't even want to do his YouTube channel. He just wants to retire in a log cabin and chop wood and shoot his gun. So he reckons. So I think America is probably even further away from doing that than smaller countries like England and Ireland, which are a lot smaller landmass. I really don't know what Musk's plan is. Now, this gets to my second part of it all, right? This is the part about Elon Musk, right? What I think Musk needs to do, because there's a lot of people criticizing Musk at the moment, and apparently Musk lost loads of money, but it sounds like he's made it back again now because they're talking about how much money he's got. And it wasn't that long ago since they were saying that he blew all his money on Twitter and he lost it all, and now they're reckoning that he's, absolutely loaded. So I don't know what's happening, whether it's just up and down like a yo-yo or what. But this is what I think about Musk, what he needs to do. I'm on X, but I'm not. I'm only on a basic thing. I can't message anyone. He won't let me speak to anyone hardly. Very few people have got their settings so you can message them. You need to start like doing all this registration thing with him. I'm not into all that. I think if you go on a platform, then just use it and speak to people. X is quite limited anyway, down to like small sentences. I'd use that. I'd use that one that Jack Dorsey's, that blue platform, whatever that Dorsey's made. But I've been on there and it seems a little bit more leisure based and kind of like not as focused on just kind of communication with particular people, more like hobbies and interests. But what Musk needs to do, rather than just knocking out these tweets like that every single news channel in the world's repeating and quoting him on, like, oh, Musk tweeted this or Musk tweeted that, or Musk's having a chocolate milkshake or whatever. It's I'm not interested in if Musk's having a chocolate milkshake or not. If you follow Musk, he's likely got many, many websites. He's got his Tesla website, development technology website. If you're into Teslas, he's probably got videos and various things. But I think, like, when, people know that I'm more aware of his Twitter X thing and that he puts these tweets out, right? So this is what Musk needs to do. Musk needs to put all his cards on the table so people can make judgment, because he's playing around and messing about and saying this and that, and he needs to make a honest commitment, right? And put all his cards on the table. And how he can quite easily do this with all these vast amounts of money and staff and all these companies he's got and all these like tech geek wizards, supposedly, although he sacked half of them from Twitter when he bought it, right? What Musk needs to do is, and not like on some hard to find web page on one of his tech development sites like, Alphabet or Google's side project, if you happen to know about protein synthesis on some partner website. I'm talking about like as easy common knowledge as him just firing these tweets that get reported multiple times in the news. Like you can't get away from it. Like like watching Coronation Street theme tune, you can't not hear it in the house, right? What Musk needs to do is he needs to, in his head, sit down. He's clearly got a idea of how he thinks the world should be, right? Musk has got a vision for the future, for his own companies, for the world, how he thinks the world, as a person, his idea of how he wants the world to be, or how he thinks it should be, or what it could be in the next, not up 5, but 5, 10, 20 years, like literally like Marty McFly, getting out the DeLorean, and there's like the hoverboard and the Texaco turn your car into highway flyer or whatever, like the clock tower in the next whatever, clock tower versus cowboy era, clock tower versus in the future, right? And there used to be a computer game called Sim City, right, where you could literally design your own town. But these tech geek developers now can knock out these computer games, these simulated computer games in full 3D, like Halo or these shoot 'em up games or whatever. Like Zuckerberg's metaverse or whatever. But you could just like go on a web page and then you can just like click with the mouse and scroll round and go forward and backwards, right? What Musk needs to do is because these game developers can knock these games up, in like 10 minutes now. They've got all the models for them, right? What Musk needs to do is be honest, not lie, and risk everything, not like change his mind backwards and forwards, right? And he needs to get all his, spectacle wearing, coding tech geeks or anonymous, whatever sideshow, and he needs to put a website up, right, which is linked on his X profile, and he needs to get his wizard developer people to make a 3D world, like Legend of Zelda Link thing or whatever it is, or whatever you want to call it, that kind of thing when you like run around, and he wants to put it there with this world now how he wants it to be, right, or how he thinks it should be with what things he's working on, right? And like Google Maps, you can put, 10, 20, 30 years back or whatever, change the date, right? And he wants to do it in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years, right? And he wants to put that up so we can have a look, see if we like it or not. And he wants to not lie about it, not bullshit. He wants to open his brain up and tell the truth about what he's thinking about with all his Bluetooth connection, with all his, disability things, or with all his car ideas and etc., etc., etc. His X platform, right? So, it's like walking down the street in New York or London or whatever, what people are going to look like when they walk past, what they're going to be doing. Are they going to be like, Star Trek Next Generation, with these like visor things on Zuckerberg's glasses, right? And he needs to do that and put it up there. It's not that difficult to do, and it's literally well within his price range. He needs to get it up there. I don't think that it's not something that I'm missing out. Or else I'd know about it. And he needs to put it up there, probably within the next. That type of people who work on those games can knock those out in 6 months. So it wants to be less than 6 months, and he wants to get it up there. And then Donald Trump Musk needs to not hold back on it and not lie, right? And he needs to digitally sign it, right? And put an oath and pledge to it, right? That he swears, if he, if it's not the truth, then, he forfeits his entire empire or something, right? And people need to vote on it. People need to say whether they like it or not, or whether they don't want the future to be like that. And then Donald Trump needs to either endorse it or not endorse it. And then people need to have a chance to say, we don't want the future to be like this. We're not too keen on it. We don't want the future to be like that. And maybe they should vote on it in the Senate. I don't know, but that's what needs to be done. Because then we know what we're in for, right? And these people, whether these people are lying to us or not. And some of them, like they're making us consent, submit, accept a policy. We need to make them, right? We need to make them accept our policy and say, if they they need to put themselves on the line, their business. They need to they need to, if they're not telling the truth about it, or if they lie about it, or whatever, they need to, start, penalties for it, and so forth. We need to start holding them to some policies rather than us, you said you're going to do this, because that's what Labour Party did. They reckoned they were going to do all these things, and then when the people voted for them, they just did the opposite, right? And and you can't do that. You've got to do what you say you're doing. So, that's what Trump needs to get Musk to do. What is this guy? What has this guy got in store? And that's something that I think Zuckerberg himself probably would do. He's likely got something already up similar that I don't know about and I haven't been on, but I don't think that he's quite got the whole thing yet, because that's what he wants to do with the metaverse, but let people do whatever the hell they want in the metaverse. But it's not the metaverse. It's actually real life. It's not going to be the metaverse. We're talking about, no, this is what Elon Musk wants to be the world to like outside the metaverse in the real world. This is what's going to be going on in the actual real world, not, in the pretend metaverse that Zuckerberg wants to suck you into. It's like the opposite of the metaverse. And then, people need to vote on it, because I think some people look at it and say, I'm not too keen on it, I don't like what you've done with the place. And that type of thing needs to happen. It could help with voting. Because, if they had models like that, you could plug your brain into, next time Kamala Harris is, running for president, and the Democrats should have the model up, this is the model in 10 years. Have a walk around and see what you think to it, I just called someone an idiot and I've been arrested, or whatever. But frankly, people like, Harris should be working at a nursery school. I think, didn't she get, she was reciting this story about, when did you find out that Joe Biden was sat down? Oh, well, I was just sat in a different room with the kids just playing little games. Oh, it's the first thing that come to her mind. All right, well, maybe that's what you should be doing for your job. Harris should really be working at nursery. I think she should be a lot happier at a nursery school. She'd be getting less criticism. But I think that's what they need to do. Musk's probably got projects like that, but he it's not. If he has, I don't think that it's like complete, and I don't think he's put his full vision on there. He needs to get it done and get the vision up there, and make sure everyone knows about it. Which it's if he had it, we'd know about it, and I don't know about it, but I know that he tweets these one-liners out because every single news program, quotes them. So, that's what Musk needs to do, and he needs to get his balls out. And if people don't like it, then tough, that's the thing. And then, there needs to be some legal kind of like, he would give it would give Rand Paul something to talk about. Even John Kennedy. It would give these senators something to talk about. For them to debate over. Oh yeah, well we don't like this or that. They might not like it. But I think that's what these characters like Musk need to do, and have some sort of commitment to it. Almost like Total Recall or something like that, or it might end up being Total Recall, and people might hate it, because a lot of people don't like, this is the thing. When you turn the TV on and it's got these game shows and studio television, and everyone's just clapping because someone is standing on the stage or whatever, X Factor or Simon Cowell or whatever. There's a lot of people who don't like it. I don't like game shows. I don't want to go on TV, or I don't like studio television, or I don't want to go in an audience, to the Royal Variety performance. I don't want to be a clapping Duracell bunny, or whatever. Some people don't like that. If they said if that was going to be the whole world, right? And everything else at the moment. That's just a part of it, but it's on everyone's TV and in everyone's house and home, and they're pushing it on everyone. It's a part of the thing. Some people don't like it, that they're happy to go hiking or walking or, to the beach or whatever, or even, this is the thing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's an outdoorsman, and I know that he wants to try and get people more involved in nature and exercise and healthy lifestyle. How does Elon Musk's vision of what the world is going to be like in 30 years, how does that fit in with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., riding on a horse in a ranch? Is he going to be plugged into the horse? Is he going to be getting a text message up in front of his hologram projection helmet while he's riding backwards on a horse while he's having a conversation with his wife and two kids and someone in Delaware at the same time, or what? And can he focus on all those things at the same time, or is Elon Musk going to boost chip everyone's brain so they can do 100 things at once? Hold 20 conversations with 20 reps in 20 companies all at once, or are they just going to be telepathic, like Professor X? So you don't even need the hologram thing because you get the message Bluetooth to your brain. They don't even need to see a picture of them because you instantly just know the message as a complete effigy. So you don't even need the hologram picture up in front of you. I think Musk needs to put some kind of idea of what we're going to be expecting from him and his X platform, and how he expects that to work legally with these other countries where it can't possibly happen, and it can't write off trading objects. It's just not going to happen unless he takes over the world, or unless some disaster happens, which maybe that's what they were planning with Putin. He should give it up. I mean, he's clearly got an idea of what he's thinking and planning, right? He can get his tech geeks to knock that up in a month or two, it's like about as long as it takes to develop a video game, right? Get it up, and then let people vote on whether they like it or not, and see what the senators think of it, and whether Trump's going to endorse it or not. this is the thing, or does Robert F. Kennedy Jr. envision whatever Musk is gonna do or wants to do is gonna affect us to the extent of what these studio game shows and etc. already affect us, and I think they affect us quite a lot. They've been setting the behavior, conduct. All the movies have been giving violent ideas out, violent concepts, and so forth. Are they going to continue with that? Steven Spielberg got the right to put violent ideas out everywhere. It's more that, and in fact, it's more important. That's the thing Kamala Harris doesn't get. That it's people have got the right and freedom to express themselves, but these films that are putting ideas out and examples, they're setting the standard of everyone else. Even Coronation Street, these soaps with all these emotional roller coaster rides in these soaps and so forth, are setting examples of behaviour. Without those, you don't need to tell people what they can and cannot say or what their opinions are. Most of the opinions are actually how they are because of these films. All the crime is how it is because of these films and television programs. But we're getting blamed for it. In fact, we're the victims. They're not actually taking legal action against the TV programs, producers, or movie people because they're their champions and heroes, and they're role models that we have. They are the ones who make all the money and are successful and get all the Oscars and awards and on the TV. So Kamala Harris just hasn't got a clue. She really doesn't have a clue where to start with it all. And the best thing she can do when she's going to be told that she's going to be the next person running is I'm sat with my kids playing around with some plastic kindergarten toys or whatever. She's not in a position to solve those problems. It's not like, what were you doing when Biden rang you up to save the world? Yeah, well, I got all these complicated problems out on the table. I was working on, the social dynamics of the future for the next 20 years. I was planning it in, step by step. Look at these technical drawings that I've got on my table. No, I was like bouncing a kid up and down on my knee. Like Priti Patel. So we're really needing Parliament, isn't it? More nursery school teachers. Who definitely know the law, like Lucy Fraser, KC. All the laws that the Public Meeting Act applies online. Not. Well, she didn't know that. It's the standards dropped dramatically in Parliament. It's not intellectual conversation of gentlemen anymore. Intellectual challenges. Even with in a way, I'm not the greatest fan of Jordan Peterson, right? I think that he's wrong about a lot of things, but saying that, I'm not to say that he's not intelligent or clever. We did have, in 1837, Parliament was full of people who were more like Jordan Peterson, so at least at least they were exploring ideas and challenging each other on them to a high standard. But it's changed now. You don't have these Jordan. I mean, I challenge Jordan Peterson on a lot of things that he says, but I think that's the point. I can challenge him, and at least he's not saying he's open to the challenge. That's the thing with Jordan Peterson. He's not saying don't challenge me. He's welcoming it, which that's the good side of it. I don't think he's right about a lot of things, but he's up for the challenge. He's open to the challenge. That's the good thing. A lot of these women aren't. They don't want to debate it or argue it, and they don't even want to let you try. And that's the difference. We've gone from like Congress and Parliament being filled with these kind of Jordan Peterson clones who are having mental masturbation stimulation about the technical details of what the law should be in the country, to sort of like Kamala Harris and Priti Patel, arguing over, what slang words you can and can't use or how you should address them, which is, you know, it, the standard's fallen. The standard has definitely fallen in intelligence, you know. And I don't think people like Lucy Fraser, KC, were making a good effort of holding up because I've seen her on TV. When she was on TV, she definitely wasn't going into technical details or arguments. She was coming out with these witty, kind of trying to be clever sort of one-liners, which weren't really getting to the point. Kind of like Keir Starmer. No one's saying that Keir Starmer cannot perform up to, Jordan Peterson intellect, but he can't get to that because he won't answer the questions. He's evading it in order to not lose. And now it's all filmed and on TV. Everything's a record. It's not like, what the MP is up to in Parliament. It's become more of an act and more scripted because everyone's watching it. So in a way, it's become produced and directed, which is what they're complaining about. That's what that Dominic Cummings was saying, that they were all reading from scripts, and if anyone went off script, then in these committee meetings, then they got punished for it. I think that started with Margaret Thatcher. I think that Parliament, because it was on TV a little bit and there was some recordings, I think that the Speaker at that point in the 1980s had become an actor, although they've always had this kind of like, exhibitionism. But I think that when there were less people turning up and only a smaller amount of people in the galleries, I think it was more legitimate. I think that MPs went to Parliament and had legitimate debates. Now, everyone's watching it, and if they say or do anything, it's going to affect their ratings and popularity and, whatever and whatever. So they can't actually tell the truth. So it's actually kind of just become a show. And that's what people have been complaining about. And I think that's what life's going to become like. If we're just recording and filming everything and you're not living for, other humans and people and living life to experience life, if it becomes scripted. And I think that's what they want. They're trying to make it like it is a movie and everything goes to script and is directed. And if there's a certain experience you can have with psychedelics where it feels like you kind of like are a machine part in a way, and almost kind of like it's like a clockwork, carousel ride or some kind of circus, or just like it's not good to be a cog in a machine, right? And that's the thing with Jeff Bezos. All these Amazon workers have to be cogs in machines for the business to run precisely to schedule, and every number accounted for and every record. I don't think that is what humans are and what nature is, and we'll go back to the evolution idea of, the biodiversity and so forth. It is really freedom versus, mechanics. And if people want to do good things and want to do nice things for each other, they should be encouraged to do so, but not forced to, And all this crime level that's going up, why is that? Because there's a lot of greed and grab for power and control, And I do truly believe that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is, understanding all these things, that, it's not good to have certain individuals grasping for all the money and power. Because then, this is the reason why there's more crime or high levels of crime and so forth. So, but I definitely think that when it comes to Musk, I think that he needs to do this. He needs to do a website that as soon as you open it, it's kind of like got literally almost like Google Maps. You know, when you open Google, literally like Google Maps, which is very easy to explore and go around, but more like a video game. Um, you know, like 3D thing. But how he thinks not the metaverse of Mark Zuckerberg is going to be, but the real world outside of that, and he needs to do it very quickly, and you know, he's not allowed to make continuous amendments to it. He needs to put his claim on there to what his currently idea is, and then people need to say whether they like it or not, or whether they think no, we would rather not have that. You know, that's what he needs to do, and then it needs to be debated. You know, that's what I if I was Elon Musk, that's what I'd do. But you know, does he want to put all his cards on the table? That's the thing.